Oh, she's divorced. Oh, she's this. Oh, she's that. Oh, she left her husband. Oh, she did all kinds of things. As if they are thereafter useless, that they can't have anything. But God says, I'm in the business specializing, taking useless persons and making them glorious persons for the glory of God.
Be glorified. 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 Be glorified in the heavens. Be glorified in the earth. Be glorified in this temple. Jesus, Jesus, be thou glorified. Oh Jesus, 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 be thou glorified. Worship the Lord. Worship the Lord. Worship the Lord. Let's worship the Lord again. Worship the Lord. Worship the Lord. Worship Him. Worship Him. Worship the Lord. Worship the Lord. Worship the Lord in the heavens. Worship the Lord in the earth. Worship the Lord in this temple. Jesus, oh Jesus, be thou glorified. Oh, glorify Jesus, 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 be thou. Oh Jesus, we worship you. Jesus, Jesus, be thou glorified. Jesus, Jesus, be thou. Oh, let's exalt Jesus in our midst. Oh, Jesus, Jesus, be thou glorified. Be thou glorified. Jesus, Jesus, be thou glorified.
The first is we do it according to the Bible, not according to our native place. That's fine. We all have our native places. Nothing wrong with that. You can't cancel that. You were born there. I was born there. You can't cancel that. But I'm not going to stand up and say, in my native place, this is what we do. This is the way we behave. This is the way we do things. No, I'm going to say, no, according to the Bible, this is the way we do. And this is the way we operate. And Boaz is a wonderful testimony of how in his day there was misogyny. Women were considered not even important enough to be numbered in such a society. And when there was racism also, Moabites were considered inferior. In that kind of a society, he literally married a woman that came from Moab. This woman had trusted in the Lord and said to Naomi, your God shall be my God. And this man married her and made a family with her. And that changed the whole cultural outlook of that place and treated her like an equal in spite of the racism that was there. Treated her at the workplace as an equal and gave her all the privileges that belonged to the nationals of that country. In the midst of this great difficulty, you see Naomi and Ruth finding answers for their problems, finding food, finding sustenance, finding support, finding a man who will stand with them, protect them, safeguard them. Amazing. God has made all this provision. Now, look at the laws of God that has to do with taking into account the poor, the needy, that is, the orphans and the widows and the foreigners. Let me just read 2 verses and quickly comment on that. Leviticus 19. Leviticus 19, verses 9 and 10. When you reap the harvest of your land, listen to this, very interesting. You shall not wholly reap the corners of your field, nor shall you gather the gleanings of your harvest. In other words, don't empty everything out. Don't clean shave it, Don't reap it so that nothing is left out. He says, and you shall not glean your vineyard, nor shall you gather every grape of your vineyard. You shall leave them for the poor and the stranger. Stranger is foreigner. I am the Lord, your God. This is a different kind of God. Some gods say, you have everything, don't give anything to a foreigner, Foreigner is a foreigner. But this God says, even a foreigner must eat. Even a foreigner must be protected, safeguarded. Even a foreigner must prosper. Look at Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy chapter 24. Even more interesting there. Deuteronomy 24 and verse 19 onwards. When you reap your harvest in your field and forget a sheaf in the field, you shall not go back to get it. It shall be for the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, that the Lord your God may bless you in all the work of your hands. Look at how he puts it. When you leave something that you've reaped, when you leave a stack of what you've reaped, don't go back to get it. Let it be there for the orphans and the widows and the foreigners, he says. And the reason he gives is so that the Lord will bless you in the work of your hands. And then he says, when you beat your olive trees, you shall not go over the boughs again. It shall be for the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow. You've shaken it and got all the olives out. And whatever is left out, don't go over it and completely empty it out. Leave it there. Let the others have it. When you gather the grapes of your vineyard, you shall not glean it afterward. It shall be for the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow. Look at how he mentions the stranger, the foreigner, the fatherless, and the widow again and again. And you shall remember that you were slave in the land of Egypt. Therefore, I command you to do this thing. 3 motivations are given to these people, to the people of Israel, when he gave them this law, in order to protect the interests of the foreigner, the orphan, and the widow. 3 motivations. One, he says, so that the Lord your God may bless you in all the work of your hand. That is verse 19. Secondly, he says, remember your experience in Egypt. You were a slave and they oppressed you. They squeezed work from you. You worked night and day there. Don't make others work like that. Be kind to them. He says, don't be so cruel to them when it comes to work. You were a slave and you worked as a slave. You know what it is and you know how you hated it. And you cried out and the Lord our God came down and delivered you. Remember that. And when you oppress a man and he cries out, the Lord your God will come down against you because you are the oppressor now. Don't do it, he says. Thirdly, it's a matter of obedience to the will of God because the last verse says, I command you to do this. I command you to do this. This is my command. It's not an option. This is what you do. What is the command? Leave some stuff for the fatherless, the widow, and the orphan, and the foreigners. What is the command? Be kind. Don't oppress them. Don't treat them like a slave. Be kind in your workplace. Treat them like another human being made in the image and likeness of God. Treat men and women with respect. Give them honor that is due. God is so kind. I am so amazed at our God. If this kind of law was not there, all the orphans and the widows, see, everybody owned land in Israel, but the orphans and the widows and the foreigners did not. Where will they go for food? Where will they raise a crop for food? If it was not for this law, they would become beggars. They'll enter into slavery, prostitution, and other forms of degradation. That's their only other option available. But this law was given to protect them from all of that evil, to keep them going, to provide their needs so that they will have enough. Gleaning law it's called. It is not you monthly sending a support to them. No. It is not a law that promoted dependency of these people, that they depended on you to give them some money every month. No. It is a law that helped them to maintain their skills. It is a law that helped them to maintain their self-respect by doing some work. They have to go and they have to reap and they have to glean for themselves. It is a law that made sure that they did not forget their work habits so that they can be productive later on when they enter into a field of work somewhere. See, it's a law that made them work like people made in the image and likeness of God. Man was made to work. And people must be given the opportunity to work. You must open the door for them. Make an opportunity for them. Make it possible for them to work. Now, you may say, well, how do you apply this? We don't have a field. We don't have a vineyard. We don't have any kind of field where we can leave the corners without reaping for the foreigner, for the widow and the orphan. How do we apply this law? This week something wonderful happened. I was sitting in the office, somebody came. They were talking to one of our office people, and all of a sudden this guy from our office came in and said, he wants to see you. He knew that you were here. He wants to meet with you. I said, okay, tell him to come in. And he just came in and he mentioned his name immediately. And he mentioned his name and he told me where he studied in school. I immediately remembered him. Because, this is the story, his story. Many years ago, one of my uncles, my father's younger brother, who was a teacher in Kalimpong, which is in the Himalayas, in the Darjeeling area, was working in a school as a teacher in a school run by some Australians. It is a school that specially helped kids that have no father, mother, or kids that are very poor and so on. And it was a wonderful school. And he'd come on holidays and spend time with us. And he was walking around in Porsawakam and went to Dufton Corner underneath that clock tower. And underneath that clock tower, this good-looking guy and his wife and 2 children were begging. And my uncle was surprised that this guy is begging. And what happened is the guy had gotten into drinking and ruined everything, and they've come to the streets. They have to beg and eat and sleep under that tower, clock tower. So my uncle called up his school and told them about these 2 kids who were just 6, 7 years old, I think, and told them about that. And they sent money to send them there. Meanwhile, my uncle had gone there, and my father bought the tickets for them. We were told to stay with the train until the train departed and took off, because the guy is such a into drinking so much that he will get off the train and sell and return the tickets and go back to drinking. So I remember dropping them at the station, putting them in the train and waiting until the train departed. And then we came home. This guy was a little boy at that time, begging in the street, literally. My uncle was just a teacher. He couldn't give them much money or anything like that. But he knew in some way he can open the door of a good future for them. He could do something with just one phone call. He could do something if he just has a vision to do something. He called those people. In those days, to make a call is so difficult because one whole day you have to sit by the phone and try to call. And when you called and talked, the whole street will hear you, you know. Hello! That's the way you talked. So it's very remarkable he talked with them. And these kids went and studied in school there. The boy, I don't know where the girl went to school. I think she went to school in Calcutta. But the boy studied in school there, came out of the school. He wanted to go to college. The school itself was willing to pay for his college, for both of their college. The boy came here to Tamil Nadu. One of my other uncles was in a big job in a university. He was a registrar. This uncle told that uncle, his brother, and got him a seat in one of the finest colleges in Tamil Nadu, where he did his BCom. And after he finished, my uncle told him, do an MCom also, and got him admission for that also through my other uncle. And they all worked together and got him educated up to MCom. And now he's a headmaster of a school, of an international school. He came to see me. I was so surprised and so happy to see him doing well. His children are looking wonderful and everything is fine. What a terrible circumstances that family found themselves in. Just the drinking problem got him into such a trouble. They had no food, no place to stay, nothing. But today they're doing so well. And I tell you, I believe that God led my uncle to do that for them. Just like God worked in the heart of Boaz to help this woman. God led my uncle to do that. And I tell you, all of us will have many opportunities like that to lift someone from the dust heaps of life and bring them off. You don't have to do so much. You don't have to, give up anything, or, you don't really have to do much at all. God will show you some way where you can give them a break, where you can open up an opportunity for them, some door of opportunity for them, that God can use that and elevate them to highest levels. The girl also studied and worked in one of the biggest companies in India, a very good job. Now she's in UK, living there, I was told. What a wonderful story, unbelievable story. Just happened this week. This kind of thing must be happening every day. Every single day it should be happening. We should be lifting someone up all the time. God will lead us and guide us to give a helping hand to someone, because God is the God of the fatherless, the widows, and the foreigners. I remember studying in a foreign country. Some people were so nice to me. Not one weekend I spent by myself in the dormitory. I didn't have a place to go. But they will think about it. These kids will think about it. They will book me far ahead. Next free weekend, you come to our house, So I got to know a lot of people. Some of them helped me so much and were very kind to me, which is what made me what I am today. One boy took me to his grandmother's place to spend the summer. And that is where another man found me and made me a preacher. See, God makes the connections. I went there just to spend the summer because I didn't have a place to go. I went and spent the summer there in a farm, and I met this man who was a very influential man there. He booked me in 40 places to preach, and I had never preached in even one place. And I never asked him if I could preach. And by the time the summer was over, I had preached in 40 places, and I had become a full-time preacher by the time. And I had only gone to Bible college 1 year. Boy, I started studying very hard to preach, First few times he started coming with me, And I had only one sermon, which I had already preached. So by tomorrow I had to get another sermon, you know. That's how I learned preaching. Because this guy was coming with me all the time. I quickly started studying night and day and started learning how to preach. But look how God connects things, how God is working in the background. God is concerned about our work. He was concerned about my ministry, my future, what I will do, and that God has given me some ability, some gifts that He wants me to use in a particular field, and He wants to help me find that opportunities. He wants to lead me into the doors and guide me into these opportunities. God is at work. You got to believe that. See, some people don't believe anything. They say, brother, I tried, nothing is working out. I'm just going to wait till 2022. Because then they say things will become better. Until then, I'm going to sit on an easy chair and rock. No. God is working. God will make everything impossible possible. See, Ruth lived for God, and Boaz lived for God. Naomi trusted in God. Naomi and Ruth were in hopeless condition, difficult conditions. God looked upon them, favored them, protected them. They have come under the shadow and the wings of God. He is protecting them now, supplying for them, doing everything for them. You know what happened in the end? It's a wonderful story. It's better than a Tamil movie. The guy got married to Ruth. This guy was a very rich guy. Owned a lot of land, a lot of properties, very rich fellow. Got married to Ruth. Amazing. And the more amazing thing is, just let's read this and close. More amazing thing is, in chapter 4, verse 13, you read this. So Boaz took Ruth, and she became his wife. And when he went in to her, the Lord gave her conception, and she bore a son. Bible scholars say, the Lord gave her conception. That very idiom, that kind of expression is used only in this place. Bible talks about conception and pregnancy and so on in other places. But the Lord gave her conception. It talks about the hand of God, God making it possible. Now, you got to remember the background. This woman came from Moab. She already lived there with a husband for 10 years and didn't have a child. Maybe there was a problem having a child. That is why this is mentioned like this. The Lord gave her conception. The Lord will take you to the ultimate end. The Lord didn't leave after she got married and said, bye, everything's fine hereafter. No, He was with her. He's interested in her. He wants to make her fruitful. He wants to make her future beautiful. He wants to undo every damage and make things beautiful. He's the builder of the broken down lives. He takes rubbish and makes it very beautiful. That's what God is. So she bore a son. God assisted her. God made that possible. God's help. This is the second time in this book this is mentioned. The hand of God was there. That God did it. God Himself saw to it that she had a son. Why this is so important? Because that son's name is Obed. He is the father of Jesse. And Jesse is the father of David. And in David's line only Jesus came. So she became a grandmother of Jesus. God took a broken life. God took a life which experienced tremendous failure. And all of the effects of the fall and sin and all it has brought down upon men. She experienced death so many times in her house. But God redeemed her, the great Redeemer. Redeemed her from that. Made her life beautiful and wonderful. Gave her a son, grandson, and so on. And her great-grandson became the greatest king that Israel ever had. But that's not over. Something more. You know who Boaz is? Boaz is the son of Rahab the harlot that lived on the walls of Jericho. Remember? When the spies went in from the Israelites, she protected them. Therefore, when the whole Jericho and the people were destroyed, she was not destroyed. That woman married an Israelite, and to her, Boaz was born. Now, we people in India, we will say, do you know the history, brother? That family is very bad. It's a very bad family. You don't know the history. But God says, I will fix the history. You know, we talk about people say, oh, she's divorced. Oh, she's this. Oh, she's that. Oh, she left her husband. Oh, she did all kinds of things. As if they're thereafter useless, you know, that they can't have anything. But God says, I'm in the business specializing, taking useless persons and making them glorious persons for the glory of God. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. He is your God and my God. If you put your trust in Him, He will do exactly what He did for Ruth, who put her trust in Him. He will do it today, He will do it for you, and it will be for His glory.
Let's clap our hands. Everybody clap your hands a little bit. I will come into your presence, Lord, with a sacrifice of praise. With a song I will exalt you, Lord. Blessed be your holy name. I'll give you all the glory. You delivered me from shame.